Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So today's topic is one I actually enjoy talking about because it's the kind of conversation that opens men's eyes and forces them to see women for what they really are and not what they wish them to be. So let's get right to it. A majority of men pay attention to how a woman looks, how she makes them feel, and whether there's chemistry. But very few pay attention to what she actually says. And that's where so many guys set themselves up for heartbreak. Because words aren't just random sentences. They're windows into her mindset, her character, and her relationship patterns. The truth is that women will tell you who they are and what they're capable of if you listen closely enough. The problem is, most men are too blinded by attraction to take those words seriously. You hear a phrase that should raise every alarm in your head, but instead you convince yourself it's nothing, or worse, that you can change her over time. That's the biggest mistake. When a woman drops certain lines, she's not joking, she's not being mysterious, and she's definitely not just being cute. She's revealing how she views relationships, how she views men, and how she's likely to treat you once the excitement wears off. Ignoring these verbal red flags is like ignoring smoke when there's fire. By the time you feel the burn, it's too late. Every man needs to understand this. Attraction can cloud judgment, but words reveal truth. And in dating, the truth always comes out sooner or later. The smart man listens from the start, takes these signals seriously, and protects his peace before it's destroyed. 1. I don't need a man. At first, this line might sound empowering or independent. Some men even admire it, thinking, good, she's strong and self-sufficient. But when a woman repeats, I don't need a man, what she's really communicating is resistance to partnership. Relationships thrive when two people value each other's presence and contribution. If she's constantly reminding you she doesn't need you, it's only a matter of time before you feel unwanted and unappreciated. Here's the deeper problem. When someone claims they don't need anyone, it usually comes from a place of pride, hurt, or unresolved pain. She might have been disappointed in the past and built walls to protect herself. Or she may genuinely see relationships as optional entertainment rather than true commitment. Either way, it leaves little room for emotional connection. Men must remember, love is not about whether someone can survive without you. Of course she can. But a healthy woman understands that while she can be independent, she chooses to let you in, and she values what you bring to her life. That's a completely different mindset from dismissing your role altogether. The danger with ignoring this red flag is that you may end up in a relationship where your efforts are constantly downplayed. She won't appreciate your support, she won't value your leadership, and she'll treat your presence as replaceable. That dynamic slowly eats away at a man's confidence and creates a lopsided relationship where you're giving and she's minimizing. Now, imagine you plan something thoughtful. You take her out, cover the bill, and make sure the night feels special. Instead of showing gratitude, she shrugs and says, I don't need a man to do that for me. I could have done it myself. Right there, she's showing you that no matter what you bring, she won't allow herself to value it. Over time, this attitude turns every act of care into something meaningless. The truth? You deserve a partner who appreciates your presence, not one who constantly reminds you she doesn't need it. 2. You're too good for me. On the surface, this might sound humble or even sweet. Some men hear this and feel proud, as if they found a woman who finally recognizes their worth. But if you've ever been told this, you know it rarely ends the way you expect. What she's really saying is, I don't see myself being able to match what you give me, and I might not even try. This phrase often comes from insecurity. She may genuinely feel unworthy of the love, effort, or stability you provide. But here's the problem. Instead of working on herself to meet you halfway, She uses this statement as a shield. It becomes a subtle way of saying she doesn't plan to rise to your level. And when a partner feels less than for too long, they either pull away or sabotage the relationship altogether. Men need to be cautious here. When you hear, "You're too good for me," it can trap you into thinking it's your job to reassure her, to keep proving that she deserves you. But the more you do that, the more she settles into the mindset that she doesn't have to change. Over time, you'll notice she stops putting in effort, because she already told you she couldn't measure up. Many men can relate to this situation. You give loyalty, consistency, and real care, while she downplays it with lines like, "I don't know why you even like me." At first, you comfort her, but eventually, it drains you. You feel like you're carrying the relationship on your back, while she hides behind her insecurity. The truth is, a healthy partner may feel lucky, but they'll also step up and match your energy. If she constantly tells you you're too good, pay attention. It might be less about your value and more about her unwillingness to grow with you. 3. I'm not ready for anything serious right now. When a woman says this, most men either don't believe her or they think they can change her mind. They assume that with enough time, effort, or charm, she'll eventually open up and commit. But here's the truth. When someone tells you they're not ready for something serious, it usually means with you. Relationships are about timing and desire. If she truly saw you as the man she couldn't let slip away, she wouldn't hesitate to claim you. This phrase is dangerous because it tricks men into waiting. You end up acting like her boyfriend, giving her your time, your attention, your resources, while she keeps you at arm's length. You're in a situationship, not a relationship, and she's enjoying all the benefits without offering you real commitment. The longer you stay, the more you're teaching her that she can get everything from you while giving the bare minimum in return. A man must understand. If she's not ready for something serious, that's her right. But it's also your right to walk away. Hanging around hoping she'll change only lowers your value in her eyes. Women respect men who respect their own time, not men who beg for a chance. Imagine you've been seeing a woman for 3 months. You're exclusive on your end. You don't talk to other women. You invest in dates. You make time for her. Then, one night, she casually drops, "I'm not ready for anything serious right now." What she's really saying is, "I enjoy your company, but I'm keeping my options open. If you stay, you've just agreed to compete with men you can't even see." The smart move? Step back and protect your self-respect. 4. My ex was crazy. When a woman says, "My ex was crazy," a lot of men take it lightly. Some even laugh and think it's just a funny way of saying the relationship was bad. But this statement reveals a deeper issue. Rarely is every ex-partner someone crazy. When someone constantly paints their past relationships this way, it usually means they're avoiding responsibility for their own role in the breakup. Men need to pay close attention to this, because it's not just about her past, it's a preview of how she'll talk about you in the future. If every ex is crazy, what do you think she'll say about you once things go wrong? The danger here is not only her lack of accountability, but also the possibility that she has a habit of chaos and conflict. This phrase often signals unresolved baggage, emotional instability, or a tendency to blame others instead of looking inward. The trap many men fall into is trying to prove they're different. You think, well, she's been with the wrong guys. I'll show her what a good man looks like, but no matter how good you are, if she thrives on dysfunction or hasn't healed from her past, she'll eventually pull you into the same cycle. Let's say, you meet a woman who tells you on the first date, "My ex was so crazy. He used to call me all the time, stalk my social media, and get jealous over everything." At first, you feel sympathy. But months later, you notice she hides things from you. She's secretive with her phone, and she gets defensive when you ask simple questions. Now you start to understand. Maybe the ex wasn't entirely crazy. Maybe he was reacting to behavior she never mentioned. By ignoring her red flag early on, you walked right into the same pattern. The lesson is simple. If she labels every ex as crazy, don't assume you'll be the exception. Assume she hasn't taken responsibility for her part and protect yourself before you become the next villain in her story. 5. I like drama. It keeps things interesting. When a woman says this, it might sound playful at first. Some men even laugh it off, thinking it just means she doesn't like being bored. But if you've ever been in a relationship with someone who actually thrives on drama, you already know how exhausting it is. This phrase signals chaos, and chaos never builds a healthy relationship. Think about it. Drama in a relationship usually means constant arguments over small things, unnecessary jealousy games, or emotional roller coasters where you never know where you stand. And while you're drained by the conflict, she feels entertained by it. This imbalance is where many men lose themselves because you start adapting to her chaos instead of living in peace. The truth is, if someone needs drama to feel alive, it often means they're uncomfortable with stability. Calmness feels boring to them. A secure relationship where two people respect each other and communicate honestly doesn't give them the rush they're addicted to. So they create tension just to feel something. For a man, this becomes a cycle of constantly trying to fix things, apologize for things you didn't do, or walk on eggshells to avoid setting her off. It's relatable because most men have been there at some point. You're with a woman who picks fights after what should have been a good night, or she suddenly goes cold without explanation just to see how you'll react. She might even stir problems with others, friends, co-workers, family, and drag you into it. And while you're stressed, she calls it passion, or says it keeps the relationship exciting. But here's the reality. Relationships don't need chaos to feel alive. Peace, trust, and genuine attraction are exciting on their own. If she openly admits she loves drama, believe her. That's not a challenge for you to fix. It's a warning about the storm you're stepping into. 6. I hate girls. I only hang out with guys. At first, this might sound harmless, even attractive. Some men hear it and think, good, she won't be surrounded by drama, and she gets along with men. But if you look closer, this statement often reveals deeper issues. When a woman says she hates girls and only keeps male friends, it usually means she struggles to form healthy bonds with other women. And that's a red flag. Healthy people, regardless of gender, know how to maintain balanced friendships. If she can't get along with other women at all, you have to ask yourself why. Often, it points to jealousy, competitiveness, or an inability to handle accountability that female friends would naturally provide. Instead of dealing with that, she surrounds herself with men, where the dynamic often puts her in the center of attention. For men in relationships, this creates constant tension. If her social circle is mostly men, you'll always be left questioning boundaries. Even if she insists they're just friends, you'll notice those friends often act differently when you're not around. And while you're trying to respect her freedom, you can't ignore that she's placing herself in situations that test loyalty unnecessarily. Many men can relate to this. You start dating a woman who proudly tells you she doesn't get along with other women. At first, you brush it off. But soon, you realize every weekend involves her hanging out with male friends, texting late at night, or spending one-on-one time with guys who clearly want more. When you bring it up, she flips it back on you, saying you're insecure. Suddenly, you're caught in a cycle where voicing your boundaries makes you the problem. The truth is, a woman who values real relationships doesn't need to cut off her entire gender to function. If she can't maintain a single, healthy female friendship, that says more about her than it does about other women. And if you ignore it, you'll end up in a relationship where you're always competing with men she swears are just friends. 7. All my exes were toxic. At first, this might sound like an innocent confession. After all, a lot of people do have bad experiences in relationships. But when a woman tells you every single one of her exes was toxic, that's not just bad luck, that's a pattern. And patterns reveal more than isolated experiences ever could. Here's the hard truth. If she claims all her past relationships were toxic, one of two things is happening. Either she's repeatedly drawn to dysfunction because it feels familiar to her, or she's the common denominator in the chaos. Both possibilities should concern you. Relationships fail for different reasons, but rarely is it always the fault of the other person. When someone refuses to admit even a small role in what went wrong, it shows a lack of self-reflection. And without self-reflection, there can't be growth. That means whatever destroyed her past relationships is likely to appear again with you. Men often ignore this red flag because they want to be the good guy who finally treats her right. You think you'll be the exception, the man who's different, the man who heals her pain. But sooner or later, you may realize she doesn't actually want peace. If she's addicted to conflict or used to toxic cycles, calmness with you might feel strange, even boring. And instead of appreciating it, she may subconsciously create the same chaos she claims to hate. Many men can relate to this. You meet a woman who tells you her past was filled with lies, cheating, and drama. You promise yourself you'll never hurt her. But months later, she accuses you of the same things without evidence, or she tests your loyalty in destructive ways. Suddenly, you realize you're living the same toxic script she described. Only this time, you're the villain in her story. The takeaway is simple. Listen carefully when someone talks about their exes. If she says they were all toxic, prepare yourself. She may be carrying that same energy into your relationship. 8. I get bored easily. This phrase might slip out casually, almost like a joke. But men need to stop laughing it off, because when a woman openly says, I get bored easily, she's telling you her attention span for relationships, stability, and even effort is limited. What she's really admitting is that consistency doesn't excite her. She's hooked on novelty, on the thrill of what's new. And if you're not paying attention, you'll end up running yourself into the ground trying to keep her entertained. Here's where men need a wake-up call. Too many of you hear this and think, no problem, I'll just step up my game, keep surprising her, keep her interested. But that's not sustainable. You are not a circus act, and love is not about performing 24/7 to stop someone from getting bored. A woman who values you won't see stability as dull. She'll see it as peace. If she sees it as boredom, she's chasing constant stimulation, and that almost always leads to instability or disloyalty. Men also need to stop confusing being exciting with being valuable. If you find yourself planning extravagant dates, overextending financially, or exhausting yourself just to keep her attention, you've already lost. Because the moment you slow down, and you will slow down, she'll start searching for her next thrill somewhere else. Many men can relate. You meet a woman who lights up at every adventure, but soon, the basics of a relationship, trust, communication, loyalty, don't hold her interest. Instead, she wants constant drama, constant chasing, constant newness. And when you can't keep up, she blames you for not being fun anymore. Here's the advice. Stop trying to entertain a woman who's telling you she gets bored easily. That's not your responsibility. It's her flaw. If stability feels like boredom to her, she's not ready for a healthy relationship. Don't ignore this red flag, thinking you'll be the exception. Men need to stop signing up for emotional roller coasters disguised as love. 9. I can't stand rules or being told what to do. At first, this might sound like independence. Some men even find it attractive. They think, she's strong, she won't let anyone control her. But when a woman says she can't stand rules or hates being told what to do, it often signals something deeper. Resistance to accountability. Every healthy relationship has structure. That doesn't mean one person controls the other, but it does mean there are mutual expectations, boundaries, and respect. If she rejects that outright, what she's really saying is she doesn't want to be held accountable. She wants the freedom to act however she pleases, without consequences, while still enjoying the benefits of being with you. Here's where many men get it wrong. You think being easygoing will solve the problem. You avoid conflict, you let things slide, and you convince yourself that giving her complete freedom shows trust. But what you're actually doing is showing that you have no boundaries. And a woman who brags about hating rules will eventually test just how far she can go before you push back. Spoiler: if you never push back, she'll lose respect for you. Men can relate to the situation. You ask for something simple, like letting you know when she's out late, not because you're controlling, but because respect goes both ways. Instead of understanding, she accuses you of being controlling. Or when you call out behavior that disrespects the relationship, she flips it around and says, I told you I don't like rules. Over time, you realize you're in a relationship where she does whatever she wants, while you're expected to stay loyal, stable, and forgiving. The reality is, relationships aren't prisons, but they're also not free-for-alls. Boundaries exist to protect both people. If she resists even the idea of accountability, then she's not ready for a real partnership. And if you ignore this red flag, don't be surprised when her freedom comes at the cost of your peace. 10. I don't believe in long-term commitment. When a woman openly says this, believe her the first time. Too many men hear it and think, she just hasn't met the right guy yet. Maybe I can change her mind. That's the trap. If she tells you up front that she doesn't see herself settling down or committing long-term, it's not an invitation for you to prove your worth. It's a warning. What she's really communicating is that she wants the benefits of intimacy, attention, and support, but without the responsibility or consistency that comes with commitment. In other words, she's keeping the door open to leave whenever she feels like it. And here's the brutal truth. Men who ignore this usually end up heartbroken because they invest emotionally in a woman who already told them she wasn't planning to stay. You can relate if you've ever been in a situation where she enjoys the dates, the gifts, the affection. But the moment you talk about building something stable, she shuts it down or says she's not ready. Months or even years later, you realize she never intended to grow with you in the first place. The advice is simple. Stop trying to convince someone to want what they've already rejected. If commitment is what you value, then align with someone who shares that vision. Otherwise, you're just negotiating with a person who already told you the deal isn't on the table. At the end of the day, men need to stop listening only to what women say and start paying attention to what those words really mean. The truth is,